this panel discussion is on finding opportunities in emerging markets. Okay, we don't have the doctor as our moderator, but our panelists for this discussion will be LaKendra Daniel Kaufman, who is broker for Five Star Team. We have Stephanie Joyce, who's the founder of Pulse DNA. Norman Descoteaux, who is CEO of Stormin Normans REI LLC. And Donna Reid, who is CEO and associate broker at Reid Elite Capital and Keller Realty. Let's give them a warm round of applause.
Thank you. Last panel of the last day of the conference. How are we feeling out there? A lot of super hot, super cold, 105. Freezer, yeah, the feet hurting. I get it. Yeah, so like they mentioned, the esteemed Dr. Robert went to Health 2.0. Him with his 16 patents, I think, was best served to go over there. He's curing cancer, HIV, all the things. So if you guys haven't got a chance to sit down and listen to Dr. Robert talk, you can always on to Health 2.0 and listen to him talk there. But I am on a panel with two other brilliant warriors helping their communities. Yeah, no, Roberts is in the panel, as I was just explaining. LaKendra is not here. Yeah, thank you. But yes, if we just want to do a quick introduction so we can kick off the financial opportunities emerging markets, we can start with you, Norman, if you would like to kick things off.
Well, I'm the CEO and founder of Stormin Normans REI LLC. And what I do is real estate investing. I buy and hold. I do wholesale. I do land, buy and sell land, vacant land, residential land, an array of different types of deals that we do. We do funding, we do credit repair services, and of an abundance of more.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Donna.
Hi. My name is Donna Reid. I'm the CEO and the founder of Reid Elite Capital Group. And what I do basically is just look for opportunities in the real estate industry. Not only that, we are right now, we're looking to raise capital for debt fund, because that's a big thing right now. That's we're looking towards and to make it a difference. Where that our investors could make double-digit return on backed by real estate. But we do know that investment process is a very daunting experience right now. But I'm on the mission of making sure that with that, we could be able to make it as smooth as possible for the investors, as well as vet every process that's out there, so before they take on to our community and what we could do for them. But we know that with our guidance and support, it's going to be very profitable for them.
Absolutely, and I know there's a lot of benevolency after we got to know each other before this conference coming here and what we're doing. So I'll introduce myself, but I'm so curious to get your guys' hot take on how it really aligns with what you're doing. The overarching theme of this whole conference really is building resiliency in communities, and I know you guys have your pillars that you stand on, and we'll be able to share that. Introducing myself, I am Stephanie Joyce. I'm the founder and CEO of Pulse DNA. DNA stands for Decentralized News Arena. And our unique opportunity is actually paying college students for them to actually fact check and take down mainstream news. There is a saying in the news media world that if it bleeds, it leads. We know this is a problem when Pew and Gallup research states that the primary source of news for generation millennial, my generation younger, is social media. This is a huge problem. Social media is riddled with confirmation biases, fear culture, fear mongering. We know what's out there. That's why everyone I interview, when getting test users from my platform, they don't even watch any source of news. So we're trying to change that narrative. I love this line or this riff I heard on an earlier panel in MoRE. A lady was talking about a lot of we the people. Well, it is going to take we the people to turn the ship around, so we have to create news for the people, by the people. So if you ever scroll down to a news article and see the bottom, the commenters, and they have something so much more lively and educationally slanted to say, that's what we're expressing on our news outlets and our app. So So a little bit of what I wanted to share was the emerging opportunity to pay students while they're in school, because if you haven't realized, schools are ran more like enterprises and businesses, and they really keep students in impoverished positions when they get out of school. So we're trying to change that narrative. Moving on to the next question, what would you feel is your unique opportunity in how you're going to help communities? Start with you, Norman.
All right, we're going to start with a pad split, we call it, and it's a very old process, but we are reinventing it. And basically what we're doing is making affordable homes, because everybody knows that rents are excessively high. You're talking $2,000, $3,000 per month, $1,800 for just the studio. And Phoenix, I know, where we're headquartered out, is very high rent. So this what has caused a homeless problem around the country. So there's a platform that we have partnered with, and it's called Pad Split. And basically what this does is takes the rooms, and you're renting room to room. So in other words, if you have 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, we'll then convert it into a 5-room, and then each room would be $900 a month. If you have a master bedroom with a master bath, that'd be $1,200. And right there, by having 5 to 7 tenants in that home, you just double your monthly income. Plus, the pad also takes and markets and advertises all your rooms at your locations, all right, for no expense out of you. Plus, it handles all the complaints, all the any of the issues for repairs or anything to that nature. So pretty much you're just hosting it. They're doing all the heavy work on that platform. And that's just something what Uber and Lyft have done with the technology field. We're doing it in real estate because we got to go digital, because that's the way it's starting to go in this market.
So true, and I love that idea. Donna, what's your unique take?
Well, what are we doing right now is I'm looking more for, especially what's happened in New York City. We found that with COVID, a lot of the people have migrated from New York City into more affordable areas like Texas, Florida, Nashville, Tennessee. And with that, we found that those areas right now are very, very lucrative for residential and commercial. So with what we're doing, that we also realized that it created an aspect where we're having, well, 3 years ago, they had a balloon rate that was lower. Now those rates are changed to the new rate that is there. With that, it created such an impact for those operators of those multifamilies and those assets. How could they afford it, being at a high interest rate when they bought it so low? So those interest rate of those loans requirement are going to be so high for them to acquire that or to keep those properties. So where we're coming in is that we are raising capital, creating that debt fund so that we could go in and obtain those assets to help our investors, at the same time creating and giving them double-digit returns. But not only that, it's going to also help the residency in there, the residents that are in there, to give them something that we don't want to create where, you know,
stable, and they stay longer.
Exactly. Not only that, but you got to think too, in that community, if we're not there to help them with creating that debt fund, to go in there and to help them create loans, and give them credits in order to obtain it when it comes to developers, they're stuck. So that's where we want to go in, is once we raise the capital, go in there, see where we can help. First of all, we have to vet basically the asset to make sure it is comparable for investors so we can help them. And with that, we want to be able to, it's going to create more economic growth in that community. It's going to also help with the businesses that are in there, because we don't want it to just go to waste. And if we're not able to help them, the bank is not going to be able to go in there and help them. So that's what we want to come in and really work together. Make it a win-win-win for the investors and also wins for the tenants that are there.
love that, and I love your energy, and I have a bone to pick with credit scores personally. I was divorced 5 years ago, and my credit took a hit, and it was no issue on my part, it just took a hit. And my take is a little different than you two, because I have this idea of digital real estate. And I know some of you might be looking at me cross-eyed, well, hey, Zuckerberg started that with Facebook and it sucked. But you know what? There's no belief system in Facebook anymore. Why? For the reasons I stated earlier. Social media, Facebook was involved with Cambridge Analytica and helped Trump win. I'm not saying I'm for or against Trump. I'm an extreme centrist and independent at heart. However, when you pump $50 million into one person's campaign and Hillary only pumped $1 million into Facebook, we knew what the obvious winner was in that campaign. I digress. Back to the credit scores. Specifically, we at Pulse DNA, we want to create a whole new paradigm shift in credit scores and create credibility scores. What do I mean by that? Anyone that is in the pursuit of knowledge, like everyone in this room, you're all diehard here, because again, last panel of the last day, you know, seeking knowledge always, right? We want to allow people to get paid and get financial opportunities based on what they have to say, because they have something to share. They're part of higher education. We want to host pop-up TED Talks and have enlivened debates, having career journalists and thought influencers that are existing, like Dr. Fauci, go against a PhD hopeful at Harvard. How cool would that be? We create, you know, a football game day fever on college campuses, only it will be the revenge of the nerds that get their 15 minutes, hour of fame, you know? Where digital real estate we see come in Pulse DNA, we all have kids, or maybe ourselves have played around with this little known game called Roblox or Fortnite. Students in kids K through 12 and higher education often spend more hours on that platform than they do anywhere else, let alone studying and doing their homework. So we were thinking, how about we create these virtual universities and debates in these virtual worlds, so people can come age 7 to 97 and bring the table together from all generations and actually give a piece of real estate that people believe in and actually would want to invest in, because it's not necessarily the digital land you're buying actually a stake in the game that is these lively debates and these educational conversations. It's just going to take a conversation after conversation to turn this ship around, and we think education, through creating better news stories and news we can actually trust, believe it or not, would be the future that we should build ourselves towards. So last question, and we can go a little bit longer, because since we're the last conversation of the day, it has been truly a pleasure getting to know you guys over the last 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
What do you think the future holds for emerging markets and the incredible visions you're creating? What would be the ideal for you, and what are you seeking to actually fully activate your financial opportunity you're creating for people in your emerging market?
I think more or less when it comes to the emerging market and what's going on right now, it's just being aware of what's there. One, if everyone is moving from the city into a more affordable market like Texas or Florida, at one point they are going to burst, meaning that one, their economy, what they have there is not going to sustain forever. So what we're looking at is, yes, they're going to have new homes, inventory so low there in those areas. You know, we also look at the job issues that is going to be impact there. But what we're looking at is more or less, it's so impactful more so when we look at the housing crisis that's going to happen sooner or later, because there's so much land you could have, so much houses you could have, but right now with the interest rate increasing, right, and also those people that bought in 3 years ago, those bridge loans are becoming due soon. What is going to happen to them? So you have to have some kind of support system for for someone, for something, because the bank is not going to come in to save them. The bank is going to say, thank you very much, your loan is due, let's get on with it. We're going to have to move on. So we have to have some support in order to take them to the next level. That's where we come in as a people, as investors. It's, you know, investors sometimes get the bad rap, but if you don't have funds, or if you don't have something set up in order to help on that front, how are you going to make it? For example, if you're looking at a multifamily, okay, and the operator is saying, oh, wow, I need to finish up, this loan is coming due, right? And I can't make it. I need $100,000. Now, what happened is that you, as the investor, could go and give them the $100,000 with different type of terms, yet still make it more affordable for you, but also keep the asset for the tenants, for the people, for the community, for the economy. That's where you're gonna come in. But yet still, you as investor is going to make it on the end when the profit, when it's sold, or make the equity that you're going to have in there. So it's going to make a win-win, but we have to have something in order to help. Cannot just depend on the banks. We know what happened in Silicon Valley, but we have to be there for the people, because we know that in the end, who's going to be there for them?
Ooh, win-win scenarios. I love that.
Well, that's why a lot of people are getting out of the metropolitan areas and they're going to find land. And many investors overlook about vacant land, buying or selling it. It's a very low competition out there. You can buy it pretty much dirt cheap and you can resell it. And there's people out there that are buying it to put their RVs on it. Mm-hmm. They're buying it to put tiny homes on it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're doing all kind of creative, inspirational ideas just so they can get away from the inflation and from the cost of living being so high, because they don't want to be homeless. Because when we see the homeless all over the streets, Phoenix right now has got a big problem. And the city of Phoenix the governor just kicked out the homeless off the downtown area. But they went out and they bought 4.5 acres of land to make a homeless camp. And that's what actually they're doing. So what we're doing is taking all this land. Now 87% of the land in Arizona is owned by the government, by the state. So the parcel of land out there, and if we take our technology and we look at all along the highways of the I-10 and the I-40, all this land is owned in parcels, very small parcels. Okay, so now these landowners have inherited it through their family, through investing from the olden days. And they've been holding on this land for 5, 10, 20 years. So what is it doing? Doing nothing. So what we do is we go in and we buy that land at a fair rate, and then we turn around and then resell it to people on recreational and that want to buy and put tiny homes out there. And that's how we're providing a newer way, and a way of life to live in the nature at affordable.
Love that, Norman. Being a Phoenician myself and living in Seattle, I do a split kind of living scenario. People don't really know the face of homelessness, and when I was a program manager working for Seattle Data for Good, we aggregated large data sets on what the face of homelessness looks like. They're displaced children that misuse drugs, kicked out by their parents that work at Microsoft. They're the military veteran that had mental health issues and they never really got them addressed. They're elderly citizens that ran out of Medicare and their insurance lapsed, and they're living out of their car because they don't have their family or support system to help carry them through. So when you say you're doing that, you're actually helping our extended families in our community, and that is so important.
Well, that's because I have talked to people, okay, in all types of homes, $1 million homes, even into they call them the hoarded houses that are completely trashed, and all types of situations. And these people have some severe, deep-seated problems. And one lady is living in her car, and And in California has got a big problem with that. But they put up camps for them. And if you ask many people that are homeless there, that are living in their cars, it's because they can't afford the rate for an apartment. And they don't want to go to work and pay rent, and that's all they want to do more in life. So you get into a spot like California, like Los Angeles, it's hard to get out of that. It's like its own country. So for people to try to relocate to a different area that's going to be cheaper and more affordable, you're stuck. It's hard to get out. So that's what we do, is specializing is foreclosure. That means I go in and buy people's debt. And people become scared of that because they're like, what do you mean you're going to buy my debt? So if you got a house that's $500,000, they're going to foreclose on you for, let's say, $200,000-300,000. They're going to foreclose on you because of $200,000, and you got liquidity in your home. We'll go in there and pay that bank the debt. We'll give the owner of the home some liquidity so they can turn around and relocate to a place so they're not on the street before the sheriff knocks on that door and kicks them out. And then we turn around, go in there, upgrade the property, and then we go resell it, but not at market value. We stay away from real estate agents because we go below the market value. So we have actually seen a $456,000 house in Phoenix, in Casa Grande actually, that was being foreclosed on. There was an $89,000 loan, okay? I went to the house, I boots on the ground to take a look at the property, okay? And I knocked on the door, and the lady that owns the house, because the son died, okay? There's $89,000 going to be foreclosed on it. The guy was living in there, and he turned around and didn't know anything about being foreclosed on. So we were going to offer them to pay the debt and then give some money, and then we'll take over the house. Well, it went into foreclosure, went to auctions. We do auctions as well, tax lien, tax deeds, and overages. So we saw that same house for going, I think it was $159,000 at the auction. And that's what the auctions on a bank REO starts out with, what's owed on the mortgage. So that means we can go in and get it starting bid at $159,000 if that's the auction, right? And then turn around, put the work in that needs into it, and then sell it, not for $450,000, what the market says. We'll sell it for a lot less, $380,000 or maybe $350,000. And if you don't got credit, we'll do owner financing, small down payment, make payments to us, and till you own the home.
So you're helping first-time owners and people that need to repair their credit as well. That's amazing. Donna, what's your take on all that?
I think, first of all, if you see a problem and you're a problem solver, that's where it comes in. Yeah, investors sometimes look at it where people look, investors going to get the bad rap because they're making money. How are they going to survive as well? But if it boils down to that you're saving someone, you're saving them from going into the point where they're going to be homeless. You're saving the community. Because the process when something goes foreclosed on, like Norman said, something go foreclosed, it's not only that house, it's the community. There is that subdivision. You have to think about that particular property right now is derelict. It needs remodeling, whatever it needs at that point. All the other properties, it's going to bring that property down. So if you're going in there to save it, right? Save the community, save whatever it is there for the people, so they could say, oh, it's a good community. Yeah, that is like an amazing job, because you're going to provide housing, you're going to provide in someone there that needs help along the way, and when you look at investors too, they're the ones that everyone is an investor. That's where we have to think about. It's just not the little person or the person that got $1 million or the person that works at the bank. No, it is the mom that is there that saved the penny. It is the single mom that's there that wants to make more money on what they have. When you look at investors, when you look at, it's the school teacher that is out there saying, you know what, I could only do thus much. But if you put away that 100, after a while, that 100 become 1,000, that 1,000 become 50,000, 100,000, then you buy something and you think about it. You don't buy one family, but you want to buy 2 units. You rent out one, you live in the other, right? You could get it at FHA. You could put down 3.5%, live in. That other person is paying your mortgage. And when you sell that property, you could just do it again. Instead of a 2 unit, you do a 4 unit, you do a 5 unit. And then what happened is that you'll see that you build wealth. But when you look at that aspect of it, you're not only building wealth for that one family, you're building wealth for the generation to come. And that's where we get stuck at. We're like, oh, I can't do it. Yes, you can. Because if you think about it, let me deny maybe taking a trip, but put that money away. And you know what? Sally Sue, could you come with me? You never know, somebody out there may want to come with you. So you have Sally Sue, you have Joe, and you have me, and you have Norman, and you have, Stephanie. Everyone pull together, and we have one same goal. We could JV on a house, and in the end, you make, I make, everyone in the deal make, and then we can move on, and you could have something on your own, Norma could have something on her own, and I could have something on my own, and my kids' kids could have something on their own. Now, how do you think about that? Everyone could help each other.
Win, win, win.
Yeah, win, win, win.
A windfall.
So,
Winning.
what if you think about this? Say you got money in your 401k, right? And you're not going to want to lose it because you know how things are going up and down. Mm-hmm. You take some of that money out, you get with 3 other people that you trustly with, go look for a property, and all 3 you buy the home and split it as fractal. Yes. A fractal investment between 3 different people, you're all on the deed, and not just one, but all 3 of you have control of that property, and then when you rent it out, and you can turn around and then split it all 3 ways.
Now that's huge. Now that's nothing new. I've heard that a lot going on in Palm Springs, but like working with people with different credit scores, that's probably newer, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Well, with the credit score is that, like, Norman is more unversed with the credit score, and I'm sure he could.
I guess that's why I'm asking. Norman how new or old you would say fractals are, and how do you think versatile they are in creating entry points for people to invest? I think that might be a question the audience may have.
Well, like you said, Donna, everybody's an investor. Everybody's a creator. Everybody's a broadcaster. Everybody is basically in together, all at once. And many people out there don't understand how human behavior is, okay, psychologically. They're fighting one another. They steal from one another. They hurt one another. They're harming one another when we should be loving one another, helping each other out with getting roofs and shelter over their head, food on the table. When the pandemic came out, okay, and they shut everything down, every business owner and other people out there were becoming creative and coming together for the first essentials and helping one another out. And then what happened? You remember?
Yeah, kind of a big one, right?
Everything went up and everybody went their own ways. People got greedy and they took everything for granted.
And I would say along with that, we're just living in a state of disconnection, with how we communicate not only in communities but within our families. We just don't have conversations like this anymore. So It's important to have events like these and have these elevated discussions, right? We have still about 15 minutes left. Was there anything that you wanted the audience to take away on how they can invest in the work that you're doing, or any SOS out to investors? I know we spoke a lot. I think the SOS is like, to investors, like, be a part of it. If you think you can't, oh yes, you can. You can be a part of this. And every investment risk can be risky, right? Unless you're equipped with the education and the information that you can receive in forums like this to realize, well, actually, I can invest in something and feel good about it? Yeah, no brainer.
Yeah.
So what would you say would be a good takeaway and how people can get in on what you're offering?
Well, for me, it boils down to the raising the capital, okay, and then creating that debt fund in order to help the others, right? Help the tenants and help also the investors' home equity on that. I think when it comes down to making it's not so much affordable, but take away from here today, knowing that, did you see that building over there? Or, you drive by and you saw that apartment building that's 100 unit. Oh my God, I could own that. Think about that. That is the impact you have. And when you think about that, your $100, your $1,000 is going to make a difference. You're going to start stacking it up, and you look, and when you drive by that building, you'll be like, oh my God, not only I own that, my children could own that. And when you keep on looking at that aspect of things, you see yourself as investors. It's sometimes you looking at the cash flow that you'll get. Perfect. Because you know why? That passive income is that income that you didn't earn. The tenants or whatever you make on that is going into your pockets, and then you can still live the life that you want. But when you look at that building, every day you drive by it, you said, I own that. And I'll tell you a quick story what happened with me one time. One of my clients said to me, oh, Donna, most of all, when I'm a realtor as well, but when I go in and I help my clients, it's not about when you sold your house, okay, what are we going to do? We're not just going to buy that one house, right? I'm coming back to you in a couple years, and I want you to tell me how I'm going to help you to purchase an investment property. How am I going to make that whatever you earned or you got from that $50,000 sale from that house, you put some down, never put all, and then we go make another investment property for you. So that's where I come in and look at all aspects of how that $100, how that $100,000 going to work, how that $1 million going to work for you, and the difference you're going to see when you drive by that apartment building. I own that.
Well, and that gives me chills because I think about the community you're creating when you have almost a tribunal system of owners and fractal ownership getting together, and you have more than one person having a stake in the game, and then they can talk about it and say, hey, how can we improve this 100-unit dwelling,
Absolutely.
And so my head's spinning now, and I'm excited for what you guys are doing.
No, absolutely.
Norman, what's your take?
That would be called tenant-owned building.
Yeah, for the people, by the people.
Know how every owner is in a company and they invest in it, and it becomes company-owned?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing, but we can do that with properties, tenant-owned property.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be the way, just like there was condos and townhouses back in the day, but then HOAs stepped in and took over. Mm-hmm. And developers in the cities and the zoning was all for that. They entrapped people into HOAs. I go in and see how HOAs have so much power, they can override and foreclose on a home for $15,000 and kick the person out of that home and override that mortgage.
And that's just if they're missing 1 or 2 months mortgage. It's not like anything egregious, so they're being
HOA
terrible.
fees.
Wow.
And if they don't
And
like
fines
you,
if you don't clip your
Right,
grass
and
or
the fines.
put your garbage behind the fence.
and if
all
they,
those things.
Well, here's the thing. If they're biased, how can you stop them? They got the power to go to the court. And they have the attorneys, and the attorneys fight for them. And I've seen properties already that I go in there and say, you're being foreclosed on. And they said, we're being foreclosed on by the HOA, not the bank. I'm like, what? The HOA has that much power?
Yes, they do. Okay, so I want to round this out and leave some,
Any questions?
yes, a spot open for question. But right before that, Donna, if you could share, where can people find you in your great work? Website, what's your bat signal?
Okay. You can find me at Reid Capital, ReidEliteCapital.com. I'm on LinkedIn, IG, and also Facebook. You could also, and Twitter, and a new thread. You could find me at Donna Sells NY for now.
Thank you. Norman, where can folks reach out to you?
I go by Stormin Normans REI, so you can go on Facebook, search for that, YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. We just started up our social media platforms because real estate investing, we're finding it very vital. And a lot of real estate agents haven't been doing it, and brokers, but we got to go digital. We have to go that way to get out there. And we can sell houses. I mean, back 20 years ago when I got to Arizona, that's when I started investing. They were selling houses online that people weren't even looking at, and it was just a pile of dirt. And if that started like that, now how it is, you can sell your house, you can, I mean, all the way across the globe. And you can partner with different people. So it's very powerful, and that's why some of the social media, we have to be wary of it because they would like to censor us because we're up against a very big government, and I'm not going to get into politics, but if we don't do it their way, they're going to be controlling us. And this is why the market for housing has went up so high. It's to keep people from being rich and being successful. And we've seen properties right now, same house 20 years ago, $109,000 if you go into Arizona in 2003. That same house has not moved. It's not made out of gold. Here it is 20 years later. It's $455,000, 7.7 APR. By the time a new family buys that house, in 30 years they're paying over $1 million for that home.
And who's winning? The banks. The banks. So cool. Glad you shared all of that.
Well,
Where can we find you, Stephanie?
Oh, you could just find me roaming the halls, going outside, sunning on a rock like a lizard because it's cold in here. But other than that, I have my AI-generated news on the invasive social media outlets, Facebook and Instagram, but it's only because we want to get our unique AI-generated stories that pull from both the left and right side of news, and we create new AI-generated news, and then we actually score that just like a ranking system like you see in Rotten Tomatoes, only we call it our critic score or AI-generated news, and we compare that to what you can find on scholarly abstracts and educational websites. So you can see that news content already created on our Facebook and our Instagram, Pulse DNA. It's all one word. Decentralized News Arena, and you can also see our trailer and what we're doing and what we're up against at pulseshow.ai. So that's it. We have about 8 minutes left. Do we have any questions? Please come to the center.
I don't have a question, but this is a real estate and law forum, and so I have to correct something that Norman said. I'm sorry, but you cannot you can't use your 401k to take out money and invest it. ERISA is the regulatory body, and it is for retirement, so it is locked in there unless you are buying it for your primary residence or a foreclosure. So you can't just take it out unless you are terminating employment. So if you're terminating employment, you can take a lump sum, but keep in mind it's taxable plus a 10% penalty.
I'm sorry, that's not right either. What happened, if it's a self-direct IRA, you can take out and invest.
I didn't say, you're right. I didn't say
Yeah,
self-directed
but Norman
for.
is right and you're right, but it's.
Well, he said 401k, so I just wanted to make sure.
Okay, but it's a
there's
self.
I'm
another way,
talking
too.
only
You can-
employer-sponsored retirement
different,
plans.
but it's
IRAs is a
self-direct.
totally, yes, absolutely.
Self-direct, you could take
Absolutely.
out and invest in property.
But
Right.
you can take a loan out on that 401k.
Yes, that you can do and pay yourself back. That is the best opportunity. And
Maybe that's the way I should have said it.
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
Learning curve.
We're in violent agreement here. We have another question.
But that was good. That was good to attack. Yeah. Thanks, Cynthia.
Hey, this is kind of a fun question, and it's for this gentleman here.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I see.
Just to know your thoughts on it. A lot of people have suspicions that the lockdowns during the COVID mandate lockdowns, where people couldn't operate their businesses, and all these businesses got shut down and they could no longer pay their mortgage. A lot of people have suspicions that the big banks were involved with the government so that they can knock Americans out of their homes, and the big banks could swing in and pick up those homes for pennies on the dollar. What's your thought on all that?
Well, during the pandemic, it caused a lot of, it was a very political thing that goes on. I'm not going to get deep into that because that's going to be very shaking this building. Because people would call me a conspiracy theorist of what I think about it. So I'm going to leave my personal opinion out of it, pretty much. But all what you're seeing now is a wave of what they did when it shut down the country and cost trillions of dollars. And you're seeing the aftermath of the businesses. Right now, you can go downtown to a lot of these places that are being foreclosed on these buildings. And what did you call it, Donna? Getting a foreclosed building for pennies literally on the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
And then turning out and reselling it out. So I think that when they shut everything down and a lot of business mom and pops that couldn't afford it or there weren't healthy banking accounts went out of business, and that was just because we're overpopulated, a lot of businesses, and the strong survives. And now we're doing 48% of the real estate investors in Arizona have backed out. And Arizona was one of the hottest real estate states in the country. And now we're down to 48% of investors. Right now I got another investor out of Goodyear that's got 500 offers on properties. That's what we're working on, 500 properties, 962 foreclosures. And we don't got a team big enough to go through that, but we're actually partnering with another company. I don't know if you've heard of Freedom Soft. Are you familiar with them? Well, they're a CRM, and they're in the real estate investing. And we're partnering up with them for them to help us out to get these offers out there to get help to these people, because these people have are gone through not just the pandemic, but they got medical issues, they lost jobs, people die, and banks know that 70%. So what do? 70% of you take a loan out on your house, something's going to happen to you before that 30-year mortgage. They're going to get that house back. They're going to flip that house again. So if we start a pandemic, what's going to happen? And that's your answer. Do you understand it, or? Okay.
Any other questions? Got 3 more minutes. Well, I think we covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah,
How do you feel? I feel good.
Yeah, I feel good. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, guys.